Time for another edition of the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast with you as always, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell. I'm Soren Petro. We are going to finish up the exercise we started. Went long. We thought we were going to get it all in last time on Tuesday. We did not. So here on Friday, we're finishing up the defense. Basically, where is the urgency with the Chiefs roster? We're going over each position. Like I said, if you missed the podcast on Tuesday, make sure you go back and check that out. It's got all the offensive positions and the skill position. Today, we're going to go through the defense. We'll go over who is on the roster, actually on the roster, all the free agents off, and how urgent does that make it for the Chiefs to address this position. 10-point scale. 1, being everything's fine. 10, meaning it's an emergency. You've got to do something in a big way, and you've got to do it right now. We do it here, right now, on the Red, Gold, and Bold.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is a columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
All right, over to the defensive side of the ball, Jeff. Let's start with defensive tackle. Right now, what the Chiefs have at defensive tackle is Chris Jones, Omar Norman-Lott, Zach Pickens, and Marcus Harris. There are 4 players. 2 of them you've heard of. One of them's been really good and is on the downslope of his career, and one of them was young, showed some flashes, and got hurt. And it's 2 other guys that are probably, let's be honest, camp bodies. What do you put the number at on D tackle?
Well, first of all, I don't think anybody makes backup sound worse just by pronouncing their names than you do, sir.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, these guys, when you say their names, you make them sound so bad. This is the way you pronounce them. I'm just like, this guy sounds worse. Zach Pickens. I'll go 5 here as well. I mean, I think Chris Jones isn't great anymore, but he's still good. Omar Norman-Lott is the key here. If he's not healthy, then I'm probably going a lot lower here. But I think he has the potential to give them something. He got hurt early enough in the season where I think it's not an ACL might not be as big of an issue for him coming back. But I agree, like beyond that, it's not looking very pretty. And I imagine they'll have to. Well, I do know they're going to have to go out and find some other guys to fill in the gaps. But if Chris Jones can still be inspired, if he can then get some out of Norman-Lott, I'll be comfortable with what they can do in that group.
So what was the number?
5.
5? Okay. Sam?
Yeah, I thought I'd be the low man on this. I've got a 6. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you do still have Chris Jones. And I know that Chris Jones is going to be 32 in July, but every NFL team in the league would employ Chris Jones. And he was still second among defensive tackles and quick pressures this season behind Jeffrey Simmons. Like, it seemed like Chris Jones had a really bad year because you compare him to Chris Jones. When you compare him to the rest of the league, Chris Jones is still a pretty darn good player. And I do agree with Jeff that a lot of what the Chiefs have at this position hinges on how good is Omar Norman-Lott. And none of us can know the answer to that. We didn't see him long enough last year. And I do think he was getting better, but does that mean he was just continued to get better and better? Like, you can't just give that to him without seeing it. And so I just think it's an unknown, and they absolutely have to add a better body here than what they had last year with Derek Notting, Mike Pennell, as far as the run stopping defensive end. Like they need to get better at that spot, but I just have it as 6.
I've got it as a 7 because I think this is the final year for Chris Jones that you can get out from under that contract. So I think you've got Chris Jones for 1 year, and I think Omar Norman-Lott is a question mark, and there's literally nothing else. Like I think this is a bigger problem than you guys do. I'm probably going to end up being wrong because they're probably going to move money on Chris Jones' deal, and he'll be here for 2 years. But I'd be looking to get out, but I don't know that they can just because they don't have the numbers. I mean, they need to find a lot of D tackles, and they don't have cap room, and they don't have picks. I mean, so like most teams are rotating guys. Like, what are you rotating here? I mean, you're looking at another Jerry Tillery, and like he literally just occupied a spot on the field. Like, did Jerry Tillery make a play all year?
Good question. I don't remember, but I was thinking about that. I mentioned the Seahawks backup defensive tackle making that big play, the big sack in the Super Bowl where he ran through the guard and sacked Drake May. That was their third string defensive tackle. like he was like their 9th best defensive lineman. To get to that place would be amazing for this team.
Don't you when you watch other games, because I tend to do this in my head, and I think that's the perfect example of this, is think about who is that player the equivalent of in Kansas City. I thought this last year when you consistently saw Sterling Shepard come off of a practice squad and make plays for Tampa, and I thought, who is this equivalent for the Chiefs to where they can get something out of a wide receiver who was on a practice squad? And that to me was defensive line last year. Is you saw defensive linemen make plays in games last year to where you'd be like, isn't this the 4th-string defensive end for this team? Like, what was the best play of 4th-string? A 3rd-string defensive end made for the Chiefs last year. Like, I think what it comes out to is their depth didn't help them a year ago. And I think that's what this exercise proves as well.
Yeah. No, their depth, what depth? I mean, they've got issues. I mean, I think the D tackle spot is right now. It's not because Chris Jones is there, but he's also getting older. What happens when he goes down?
Yeah,
if he does go down, where are they with this? I mean, we're talking about all the spots. I think this is what we're kind of building to as we did the offense before, and now we're doing the defense. Is like it's all adding up to like. They need a lot, right? That's what keeps slapping me in the face. But they need a lot just at D tackle, and I think they almost can't quit Chris Jones, right? Because they don't have anything else. So I've got it at a 7 on that one. Let's go to the edge, the defensive end, to refresh everybody's memory on where they are. George Karlaftis, Mike Dana, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, Ashton Gelati, and Ethan Downs.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's the one right there.
That's the depth. The guy.
It's the pause before the last name.
Yeah, a guy by the name of Ethan Downs.
Yeah.
Those are the 5 edges that they've got. You're not throwing a 5th year on Felix Anudike-Uzomah, so he heads into his last year. Michael Dane is cuttable. Karlaftis, you just re-signed. Gelati's in his 2nd year. Jeff, what do you give it?
I'm at an 8 with this group. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but Karlaftis can't.
I don't think 8 is too hard.
All right, so I'm the low man here too. Okay,
yeah. Pretty sure you're gonna be the low man.
Okay, yeah. All right, I'm an 8. Karlaftis is okay, but he can't generate pressure on his own. FAU's been a bust. Dana's not going to be here. Who was the other guy? Am I thinking of? Gelati. Gelati's, I don't know. Gelati looks like a poor man's version of Karlaftis. They have to find help here because they're not going to find an interior pass rusher who could help you is going to be almost impossible given the cost of that. You've got to find edge players who can do more because you can't rely on Chris Jones to be even a good player for much longer, as you said, Soren. So, yeah, I just think this is maybe the 2nd biggest need outside of running back.
Okay. Well, I mean, maybe we're going to find that it's tied for the 1st biggest need based on
I guess so.
We're going to hear from Sam McDowell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a 10. Oh,
10, really?
No, you're down on Karlaftis, huh? You're
well, you play 2 of them though. and you rotate even your starters. You rotate, and you've got to get a premium player at this position because it's a premium position. I debated on running back. I'd never debated wavering off of a 10. On this one, I debated between a 9 and 10. Wherever I graded, even if I graded it as an 8, I would say biggest need though, because this is a premium spot, and you did not affect the quarterback a year ago. The quarterbacks had an easy day against you when it comes to pass rush. The only reason they had a hard day is because the cornerbacks were good and coverage, and the defensive scheme is still pretty good. So I just think, your starters right now are Karlaftis and Chadiha. To me, those are the only two guys who are going to make the roster are probably on that list that Soren mentioned, because Mike Dana's contract is cuttable. And so, you need a starter and a good backup at that position. And to me, the main thing that drove me to put this as a 10, this should be where all of your attention goes with that number 9 pick, is can we draft an edge rusher at 9? That's what you should be asking yourself next week at the combine, is which edge rusher can we draft at number 9? What's our list? Is it just 2 guys? It probably will be. But is it just those 2 guys? Okay, what's it going to take to get one of those 2 guys? I just think that's where all your attention needs to go.
Yeah. I've got it at an 8 because I do think George Karlaftis is a good player. I think Ashton Chadiha is at least a rotational player.
By the way, I just want to clarify. I agree with you that Karlaftis is a fine player. Karlaftis is not part of the problem.
Oh no,
but you start 2 of these guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you made your point. You didn't crap on him. I think we're pretty similar, but you see it as, it's an emergency, right? You got to get somebody. And
just the impact on the game of this position has when you can't rush the quarterback from the edge. Just the impact that makes.
By the way, I know everybody has turned the Seattle Seahawks front 4 into the fearsome foursome, doomsday, steel curtain, purple people eaters. They had 42 sacks, I think, or maybe 47 sacks.
Yeah.
You know how many times in 3 games they sacked Matt Stafford?
0.
Is it 0 or 1?
1.
Yeah.
So there is a scheme element to what we saw in the Super Bowl with how dominant the Seahawks front looked. I bring that up, one, the idea that this legend that's going around that they just have this wrecking crew front 4. I think they're fine, they're good, they're but I think you can scheme what you're doing as well. And the Chiefs are going to need to do that. And I think they have done it, right? They've obviously done it in the back, because as we look at the talent on what's here, we're not blown away. And it's not like we're talking about a bunch of good defensive tackles and defensive ends that are leaving in free agency, right? There's nothing really that's departing that anyone's like, oh my God, can't believe that guy's going. So, and they were able to scheme up a top 10 defense. So I think it's at least of note on that front. All right, let's go to linebacker. This is what is on the roster currently right now at linebacker. Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquill, Jeffrey Bossa, Tyreek Smith, Cooper McDonald, Brandon George.
Tyreek Smith got the treatment.
And Cam Arnold.
Yeah.
That is your linebacking core. There's 3 guys, really. There's Bolton, Tranquill, and Bossa, and they didn't trust Bossa on the field in the defense. Jeff, where are you at linebacker?
I'm at 4. I think it's a solid group. Leo Chenal leaving, I'm assuming he's not going to be back. I think he gives you some versatility that you will miss. A nice chess piece to move around. Tranquill didn't play that great, but I think he's still a solid player. And Nick Bolton, we all know his pass game deficiencies, but he's a leader. He's tough on the run, and it's not a phenomenal group, but it's not a bad group. I'm okay with them being a 4. And I think Boston will get on the field more because he's going to have to. And we have no other options, really.
Yeah. So he's at a 4. Sam, where are you?
Similar range. I'm at a 3. First of all, you can't afford to pay more at linebacker than what you're already paying, considering what Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquill are being compensated. So it's not a spot I think that the Chiefs should throw a bunch more resources. But this exercise does prompt you to think about the position in a holistic way, to think about the group as a whole rather than these individuals. And how much better would this Chiefs linebacker group be if it turns out Jeffrey Bossa can cover, because he's a former safety in college. That's the strength of him being like, he's undersized for a linebacker. So theoretically, the reason you drafted him is because you hope he can be a coverage linebacker. And this whole group comes together if Bossa could be that guy.
Yeah. I agree. That goes a long way towards getting you there if he can do it. And you liked him for some reason. Like, that's what they kept talking about. Like, that's one of the reasons why they didn't take running back there, was like, oh, we didn't think Boston was going to be there. And then he didn't get on the field. This is going to be ones where, burn the boats. You got no one else, And it'll be interesting to see, like, do they play Cooper McDonald over him? Is there like something that Jeffrey Bossa for, Steve Spagnuolo just has a thing where he does not
They did it late in the year.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see. I've got him at a 4 on this one, just because I think there's no depth really, and so I think I'd like to see him get a linebacker along the way, but it's so far down the list of needs as we're stacking this up. I think you're going to be looking at another Cooper McDonald type, like a free agent that's going to be cracking this unit if that's where it's going to go. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Let's go to corner. Okay, we'll do cornerback next on the list. Here is your cornerback list: Trent McDuffie, Christian Fulton, Shamari Connor, if you want to call him a corner, Noel Williams, Kevin Knowles, Melvin Smith. You could put Christian Roland Wallace in here as well if you'd like, but you could also put Connor and Roland Wallace over on the safety side if you'd like. So the cornerback spot, Jeff, where do you sit on the cornerback spot?
I flirted with 3 and 4. I'll go with 4. I think Jalen Watson leaving is a big deal. I know he played pretty well for them. I don't trust Christian Fulton. I know he played well down the stretch, but I just think he's always going to be hurt at some point. Noel Williams showed a lot. I'd like to see more of it, but it does concern me that he didn't play as much as he possibly could in this system. And then McDuffie's the big question. Is he going to be here? If McDuffie's here, I'm probably down to a 3. If he gets traded, I'm staying at 4.
Okay. So, let's put McDuffie on the roster right now. So you're going with what? 4?
4.
Okay, 4. Sam.
Yeah, since McDuffie, as we talk, is still on the roster, I've got it as a 2. I think this is where the Chiefs are strongest defensively. McDuffie's a great player. I think Noel Williams showed promise. I think, if Christian Fulton is a depth piece, he's not bad. I thought Kevin Knowles showed something too, to where he's at least maybe something to work with in camp. Maybe a guy who can continue to improve. Maybe he could play the slot. I don't know. I just think this coaching staff does such a great job with this spot. Now, it being at a 2, I think, should be part of the motivation for the question that Jeff brought up. If this was a 7 with Trent McDuffie on the roster, even a 5 or 6 with Trent McDuffie on the roster, you'd say, can we afford to get rid of this guy? Even no matter what the return is. When I've got it this low, that's part of the calculus for whether you determine you can play without a guy is what do you have behind him. Trent McDuffie is a major reason this is only a 2 right now, but I think, if they trade him, it probably goes up to a 5 or a 6, but it doesn't go up to a 9 or a 10 without.
Okay. I'm at a 5 already on this one. And it's because Fulton is on his last year of his deal. The McDuffie contract is a big question mark for me as to whether or not you can do it. So I don't know that you can. And then after that, where are you? I mean, you're sitting with Noel Williams, and that's really it, because I don't consider Chamari Connor a corner, right? So
No,
and he's coming up as well, right? So I think they're a little thinner here than they realize. And my fear is, as I look at this and I look at all the other things that we've said that they need to go get, that they start going, well, let's push Chris Jones' money back and let's go ahead and re-sign Trent McDuffie, because I don't want to have to go redraft those spots. That's the scary thing for me as I look at it. That I think that they could, be there and be presented with an offer that's worthwhile for Trent McDuffie, and then go, well, no, because next year all I've got is Noel Williams. Like 27, all we have is Noel Williams if I do that, and that's a little bit scary. But I think it's a 5 because they are very good at it, but they just don't have many guys under contract for very long.
Yeah, but I don't disagree with that. To your point about if they come to the conclusion, well, now I got to go redraft this guy. That's what you do well. You draft this position insanely well. The rest of the league envies the way you draft and develop this position. And so, I mean, L'Jarius Sneed was a fourth round pick. Jalen Watson was a 7th round pick. Noel Williams was a 3rd round pick. I mean, Trent McDuffie fell further than people anticipated. But
you have to make those picks, and they only have 6 of them.
Yeah.
And so I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I just don't see the resources there, and so that's why
that's true.
5. And let me ask you this: what do you see a 5 as? Right? We know 10 is the worst and 1 is the best, but is a 5 just the normal?
Can't ignore it.
The normal business in the NFL?
Yeah, I think so. I think 5 is you can't ignore it. You can't just go into the offseason with the exact group you have right now.
Okay. So a 5 would mean something needs to be done this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, not top priority, but yeah, I mean, you can't ignore it this offseason and just say, hey, we're good there if you're grading it as a 5. And that's kind of the reason I graded it as a 2 is this offseason. If you had Trent McDuffie, I think you could roll with this group that you have.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That leaves us with safety. Where are we going to go on safety here, Jeff? Here are your safeties. I mentioned we could put Chamari Connor over here. You could put Christian Roland Wallace over here, and then Jaden Hicks, Tanner McAllister is your safeties. That's it.
Yeah. I got it at an 8. I think you have to. And with Jaden Hicks not knowing what he is, I think it really makes it tough, because I think you need to have some. I get the idea of having some safeties you can cover, or at least be flexible in coverage, like a Roland Wallace and like Chamari Connor. But I'd like to know you've got a group that you trust back there with some bigger guys who can be more involved in the run game, be more effective as blitzers. And, without Brian Cook there, without Jaden Hicks there, you basically got 2 guys who were just converted corner type guys, or just smaller body type guys. And I think Connor's got enough limitations. Roland Wallace, I think, is a better player, to be honest with you. What he can offer, but I just don't think they've got a lot going on there. And so I think you really have to find either some experience in free agency, or find a difference maker in the draft. You get to find 2 guys.
Okay.
I don't think you can say what you have there are 2 guys you can start at safety and feel comfortable. You got some guys who can play nickel, but a base package, I don't think you have that right now.
All right, Sam, where are you?
I'm at a 7. I said earlier that I think if not for the uncharacteristic season the Chiefs had, that when we talked offense earlier this week, I thought just the Kingsley Suamataia would have been the best story of the Chiefs season. I think if not for the fact the entire team struggled, Jaden Hicks, you could argue, is the biggest individual disappointment the Chiefs had this last year, because I think a lot of us expected him to be a much better player in year 2 than year 1. And instead, we kind of saw the same Jaden Hicks we saw as a rookie. We didn't see much growth from him. And so, I mean, I thought the Chiefs had a very good plan at safety. to not have to re-sign Justin Reed, to not have to re-sign Brian Cook, to have younger and cheaper talent fill in at that spot. And now without Jaden Hicks' growth, you're sort of left, can you depend on that? What can you depend on there? And I think Jeff brings up the interesting thing, which is I think there's going to be some assumption going into camp next year that, okay, now in year 3, after Justin Reed's gone and now after Brian Cook's gone, certainly it's Jaden Hicks' time. Let's wait to see until we get to training camp. I mean, is Chris Rowland-Wallace actually going to be given that spot because he's been dependable in coverage, and therefore is it more going to be his opportunity first in training camp? I think that's going to be a really interesting battle to follow next year.
Yeah, I think so. I've got safety at a 7. I do think there's some real question marks there, but I do think there are some options, and this is where I kind of come back to where, what you were saying about the corner. They're really good at this. They figured this part out, and so I think they'll do that again. But I do feel like Brian Cook did a nice job of stepping up, and this year was the first year, right, without a safety net. You'd gone out and gotten safeties basically for 6 years previous with Tyrann Mathieu and Justin Reed, and so they lived with their guys. But Brian Cook also came with the pedigree of being, a second-round pick?
Yeah, and that to me prompts something interesting about this Trent McDuffie thing, because if you're thinking about Jalen Watson, Brian Cook, and Trent McDuffie as a package, they all came in that same draft, right? And Jeff, you've been in more locker rooms than I have, and as far as different teams, and you can probably provide the best perspective on this, which is how much does leadership matter in a room? Because let's say you decide Brian Cook's too expensive, you decide Jalen Watson's too expensive, and you decide that trading Trent McDuffie is your best move for the long term. Like 3 plausible moves, right? Moving on from Cook, moving on from Watson, and trading McDuffie. Yep. Who's in your room now? I mean, you've got in the defensive back room at that point, you've got Shamari Connor, Chris Rowland-Wallace, Jaden Hicks, Noel Williams, Christian Fulton, Kevin Knowles. Like, you don't have an accomplished player. I don't know who emerges as the leader of that group. And so that's why I throw it to you, Jeff, as far as that question is, how important is that to have one of those guys back?
Oh, it's huge. Well, it's kind of the reason why Mike Edwards was here last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They needed somebody.
And Deion Bush,
those guys.
On the practice squad.
Yeah, but it's a great point, because it's one thing to have guys who, again, are niche players, but to have somebody who's your leader back there. And I would argue, I think we saw the impact of Justin Reed not being there. And I forget who made the point somewhere, but they talked about just losing Justin Reed and potentially losing Nick Bolton last year could have crippled this defense, because Spagnuolo relies on these guys to make these calls and to make adjustments so much in real time. You need to have somebody who you trust back there. And Reed was that guy, and before him was Tyrann Mathieu. So I think it's a valid point. I think you just can't – you just can't go find somebody to be that. Somebody either has to grow up in your roster and make that happen, which is why Jaden Hicks really is in the spotlight here, or you suffer for it.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Sam. Like what you said, that's going to be really interesting to see, especially if they don't put anybody else into this mix. With that comes with either a decent contract or a fairly high pick, how that will play out next year. Looking at it, if we tally up, use it like an AP ranking for it. Yeah. Biggest need: 1, running back; 2, defensive end; 3 is a tie between tight end and safety; 4 is wide receiver; 5 is defensive tackle, and then we feel pretty good all around about linebacker, corner, offensive tackle, guard center, or quarterback and guard center. But the needs, I don't think we're shocked, but it's like.
Yeah, but I would rank needs differently than I would rank this exercise.
Okay.
Because this exercise to me is relative to the position itself. And I know this gets a little in the weeds and maybe even a little confusing, but to me, need, I think, is based on the position's value on the field, too. I mean, for example, you guys have running back as higher on that 1 to 10 scale than you have edge rusher. I think you guys would think that they need an edge rusher more than they need a running back. But compared to the room itself, when you compare running back depth charts to other running back depth charts, they're further behind. other
That's
teams.
That's a good point. Yes, the bigger impact positions.
Yeah,
they need a running back, but an edge can do more for you. So that's why you take the edge if you believe in him over the running back at 9. I think that's a great point. I think that's important to spell it. Yes, we're not saying running back at all cost. We're just saying based upon its position, it's
compared to the rest of the league, they are furthest behind at running back. There's no question.
Yeah. But the
it's also a question of when you're where the Chiefs are at, you can't have it all. And so we can talk about needs is is a very powerful word, but you can't fill all these needs, right? And so you have to be able to be smart about the needs you fill and be able to win with some deficiencies in other areas, which I think is the important point to make here. Not all these areas we're talking about are not going to be upgraded by the start of next season.
And when you factor in what they need on offense versus this exercise of what they need on defense, I think the takeaway from all of it is there's enough there that when you start thinking about some of the names that you've seen people throw out, such as Breece Hall, look at what it would cost you. Yeah. Look at the other positions that you have that you're saying, well, we can no longer address this, or this because this guy costs $12 million a year and he plays running back. I think that is like, you don't make these decisions in a vacuum. You've got to make it with a full blueprint in mind. And that's what this exercise is. It prompts you to think about the full blueprint of it. And that fuller picture to me says you can't spend that much money on running back.
Yeah. I had a conversation today with someone about they said, well, the Chiefs aren't that far away. When I do this, I think they're further away than a lot of people realize. You know, that's the whole point. You have 2 running backs. One of them you've never heard of. The other one barely played. Okay. You have 4 defensive tackles. 2 of them you've never heard of. One of them was hurt. The other will be 32. Okay. You have 5 edge rushers. One of them's likely to be cut. One of them's good. One of them's been a complete bust. And one of them was okay in his first year. I mean, like, I think when you look at what is actually on the roster, that's the point of the exercise. You go, okay, because everyone looks at depth charts, and the depth charts still have the free agents on them. They're not there. They don't have them. Maybe they'll get 1 or 2 of them, but like, I think Brian Cook could be back, but not if somebody comes and gives him a big payday. Like, I don't think they look at Brian Cook and go, okay, we're going to give him, 3 for 30, right? Do you think he's going to get a Justin Reed offer from the Chiefs? I don't. So if somebody else does, he's gone, right? And so that's why looking at this is what you actually have to work with. I think that's why it's important.
Yeah. Well, you have a lot of make it work guys, right? Like King Matias was the epitome of that, where it's like he was a 2nd-round pick. He didn't work at left tackle. He had to make it work at guard. Like, I think Rashee Rice is a make it work guy. Xavier Worthy is. Jaden Hicks, Omar Norman Lott. Like, there's a lot of guys who have some high draft stock, draft investment made in them or some money invested in them through second contracts that have to start making it work. Like, you just can't go and fix all these ills because you don't have the money to do it.
Yeah. I apologize because this is beating a dead horse that we discussed in January, but this is why you should have played some more of these guys in the last 3 weeks of the season when you're out of it, because you have a better idea of how you can prioritize this. If you're a team that went into the offseason with just a couple of needs, it didn't matter. You knew which guys you needed. When you've got this many on your list, this many that we scored a 5 or higher between the 3 of us, it'd be nice to know exactly how you should prioritize them, because can Bossa be a make-it-work guy, as Jeff described? Can you live with him on the field playing as a starting linebacker?
Yeah. I think that's a great point. And they didn't do it. And so you got a lot of question marks here with guys that actually are on your roster. So fun exercise. I liked it. I can see us doing this every year, breaking it down, both sides of the ball and what all they need. Of course, you can always support the Red, Gold, and Bold by supporting our great sponsors, Gain Asphalt and Concrete. Concrete season is right around the corner. Get on the schedule right now with free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warranty. More than 30 years, they've been solving parking lot problems. One contractor, all things parking lot. It's Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com, and our friends at Frontier Justice. Locations in Lee Summit, KCK, Jenks, Oklahoma. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, find their expert staff, top gear, and a strong sense of community all under one roof. Find out more at frontier-justice.com. For Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network, Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining